Hey everybody and welcome back. So now that I have done videos on all of the IA2s and IA3s, I decided to make a video just to help you guys get started for your mock exam and external exam prep, because I have so many people asking me which resources are good, which ones did you use, what do you recommend, and like where do I actually get started. So the first thing for you guys to get started that I want you to do is consider all the different resources out there and which ones you think you would like to use. And I've got a whole list here today and then a little bit more stuff to talk about down here. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is definitely the most important, and that is the QCE Discord server. So if you don't know, I think it was back in 2022, a guy who was graduating that year, he goes to UQ now, he created this Discord server for basically Queensland year 11 and 12 students to congregate and ask each other questions and share each other resources, all those sorts of things. And now it's actually turned into this massive thing. I'll just show you it here. It looks like this. There's over 1,000 members currently, and I hope we can get some more. It is really, really amazing. So along the side, you've got all like the different channels here, and when you join, it asks you what subjects you're doing. So if you do maths methods, then they'll put you in the maths methods channel, and you'll see there's like a help channel where you can post different questions. This person has like done, how do I solve this question? This one's asking about Bernoulli sequences. This person's talking about a funny quartic thing. And as you can see, this one about the quartic thing has 131 replies to it. So you ask a question, all these people are willing to jump in, help you out. It's really amazing. And there will also be like a general discussion. There's call if you want to do audio call, but most importantly, there is in every subject something called the useful resources. And basically all of these ones, there's a Google Drive where everybody just uploads all of their stuff. So a lot of past students do this. Not a lot of current year 12 students upload their resources just because, to maintain that competitiveness. But a lot of past students will upload past papers, different, like their notes, all these different things. And then there's other useful resources like Eddie Woo's YouTube channel. We've got the WACE exams here, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. We've got different textbooks. So that is where I accessed more than the textbook that my school provided me. So if I remember correctly, my school used the Jacaranda, but it was on this Discord server that I actually found like the Cambridge textbook as well, which was really, really, really great to use. It is a really good idea to use different textbooks for methods and specialist in any math subject, just because they expose you to different kinds of questions that you haven't seen before. That was a bit off topic, but this is the Queensland Study Hub server. Some of the things that you can get on it, there are other textbooks, which I just spoke about. There are past papers of other schools, so not a lot of people do this, but I remember leading up to, I think it was like my IA3s or something, like Brisbane Boys Grammar or something, like some people in there uploaded like past practice papers that their school had given them, and then like we use them, blah, blah, blah. It was pretty good. You help each other with different questions. Some people will post like Quizlets and Ankis, like decks for you to be able to copy and use. A lot of past students will stay in the chat, like after they've gone off to university, they'll stay in the server and pop in every now and then, especially close to external time. There were a lot of people who graduated the year before me who stuck around to answer any of our questions. There were practice papers from many, many different companies, so things like NEEP and I forgot all the other companies, but lots of different practice papers. The one thing that I do want to mention there with practice papers is be careful that you don't do the mock that your school is planning on doing. So some schools will do the official QCEE mock, which might be uploaded on this Discord server. My school used the NEEP 2023 ones, which I think some of them were uploaded on this server, but be careful that you don't actually use those. I do think it's really, really important to sit your mocks like completely blind, having no idea what they're going to be about. I definitely think that's the best way to do it. So if you have any idea of what your school does for a mock, don't do it. And especially don't do the QCEE mocks if they have been uploaded. I don't know if they have been because I'm pretty sure they're not meant to be, but just in case, don't do it anyway. The last thing people upload is they do like completed notes. So like they'll have like their physics syllabus completely filled out for you to have a look at, see if you have anything missing, all those sorts of things. So that's the QCE Discord server. Best place for resources. It is amazing. I really, really, really recommend it. Something else that I really recommend is Joel Speranza. So a lot of you probably heard of him. He does YouTube videos, and it's like methods and specialist YouTube videos, and he always does like his trying to predict the exam thing. Not gonna lie, he is always way off, but the really good thing is it exposes you to like weekly or even daily questions, and he'll upload his video, and then you do the questions and he will explain them for you, and usually they can be a little bit strange as well. So I super duper recommend checking out Joel Speranza. The other really great thing was that he has a website, and it used to have this thing, and I'll tell you where it's gone now, but he used to have all of the questions of past papers sorted. Like, you could sort it by different ways. So you could press 2021 and it would filter out everything except for the 2021 questions. Or you could press complex unfamiliar and it would give you all of the complex unfamiliar questions. That was so useful. It was just a big question bank. Apparently now if you go onto his website, this question bank has moved onto Exam Insights, which I think is like some sort of website, but yeah, that's apparently free. So I would really recommend checking out Joel Speranza's YouTube channel and having a look at that question bank on his website. I will link all of these things I'm talking about in the description just so you can find it. Another thing that I found to be very useful was Anki. So we are all probably going to have flashcards of some type, whether it's Anki, Quizlet, like physical, any of that, but I truly recommend Anki. It is free on your laptop. For some reason the phone app costs like $50, but on your laptop it is completely free. It is way better than Quizlet just for the reason that it uses spaced repetition. So every time you answer a flashcard, it'll get you to press one of 4 keys, and it'll either be like, oh, I really struggled with that one, oh, it wasn't too bad, all the way up to amazing, got it instantly, blah blah blah. And with you ranking your response every single time, it like, I don't know, does some sort of maths to figure out what you need to be working on the most, and it will push those cards that you keep getting wrong to you more. And it will also make sure that you are seeing cards from maybe a month ago. Maybe you mastered them a month ago and you still have them like in your head, but they just give them back at you just to make sure that you get reminded of it and still remember it. Quizlet doesn't do this. There is no way for Quizlet to tell like what you got right or what you got wrong since last time I used Quizlet. So I really recommend Anki. It looks like this. You can use other people's decks, so people can upload their decks and then you can download them and like get them onto your thing. And it is really great for things like memorizing QCEE definitions. So in the sciences, especially biology and physics, when there is a dot point that says define blank, you need to use the actual QCEE definition, which they'll give you in the syllabus in the glossary. I do have a video on those cognitive verbs if you want more information on that, so I'd really check that out. This is also great for memorizing quotes, like for English or whatever. The next thing I want to talk about is the Study Buddy. Now, actually, Study Buddy and QCE checkpoints can come into 2 different, like the same category. So they're basically just the textbooks companies Oxford and Cambridge made, like a study guide sort of question thing. These are actually pretty good resources. I know we use the Oxford textbooks and like they're sort of bad. Like they're not good, but the Study Buddies actually are good. So I really recommend these. Both of these were just in my school library, so I'd borrow them out, get them, like reserve them, all of that sort of stuff. And they do have content in them, but they also have questions. So I didn't really care about the content, but you guys might. But they also have like 150 questions each for every unit in these ones. So they are really good. I really liked these. They'll have the answers in the back. I really liked these. On the note of your school library, I really do recommend checking out your school library, because I know our library had like a gazillion different books like these from different companies that they had like 1 or 2 copies of that you could go and borrow. I really recommend having a look at your library, because a lot of the time they will have like these textbooky sort of question books that you will forget about. Even for things like maths, like if you have a look at like specialist maths, that used to be called Maths C. So maybe your library has some old Maths C question books that you can go have a look at and pick the topics that are the same as specialist and do those questions. Heaps of resources in school libraries typically. Just on the topic of study buddies, sometimes they can be like slightly a little bit harder than what you need to do, especially in the maths ones. Like the maths ones do go too hard in my opinion, but they're still a really, really good resource. You can buy them yourself or you can borrow them, doesn't really matter. Okay, moving on to the bane of my existence, and that is ATAR Notes. So I really recommend not using ATAR Notes if you can. So first of all, do not attend those live lectures they do. They do these free live lectures like every term or whatever. They're not good. They're so often wrong. They do not go into the right detail. They don't look fully at the right things. Sometimes the people teaching you aren't even like Queensland students. Like I just do not recommend those live lectures at all. They're not good. Please don't use them. I strongly dislike them. They're so often wrong. Just don't use them. They do have a lot of mistakes in their question books, like these ones down here. Just mistakes and mistakes and mistakes. I am personally not a fan of ATAR Notes. I won't say any more on them. Use them if you want to. If you do use them, make sure you're always checking in with your teacher to check that they're actually right, because often they're not. So I really don't like ATAR Notes personally. So I would steer clear of that and stick with the Study Buddy and the QCE checkpoints, because these ones are made by like actual textbook companies, and these ones here are made by just random students, often students who aren't even from Queensland. Something else that is really useful but you need to be careful with is using papers from other states. So you can search up things like WACE specialist past papers. So WACE is Western Australia. So you can look up that, or you can look up HSC chemistry past papers. These are really good because like the whole ATAR system in Queensland only came out in like 2020. So we only have like 3 or 4 years of past papers. Whereas if you go to like the HSC, which is New South Wales, you can get past papers from like all the way back to 2000. So there are way more. The only thing is that you do need to be careful of a couple of different things. First of all, if you're going very far back, you need to consider like, say in chemistry, has this idea been updated? Has it been changed? Do we have new perspectives on it? You also need to consider that other states will do slightly different syllabi. So there will be a lot of crossover, but they might do things slightly differently than we do, or they might do the same topics but focusing on a slightly different thing. Just be wary that these are good, but they're not amazing. The other thing is that different states will have different difficulty for their subjects. So if you pick the hardest maths subject, like the specialist maths equivalent in Victoria, it will be harder than Queensland. But if you pick specialist maths in Western Australia, it will be easier than Queensland. So you do need to consider like, this isn't truly representative of what Queensland will be like, but it is an option if you want to expose yourself to new kinds of questions. When it comes down to maths, you really want to be exposing yourself to as many unfamiliar questions as possible, just to help you with those complex unfamiliar questions. And using papers from other states is a really good way to see those unfamiliar papers. I do have a few couple of things I do want to talk about just at the end here. So first of all, you aren't going to have very much time with your teachers when it gets near the end. Everyone is going to be wanting help. And in that holidays before term 4, when externals are, when you start to like really lock in, your teachers aren't going to be home with you. So we really need to be working on being independent and learning how to learn by ourselves. The best thing that I ever did, well, it wasn't me, it was my biology teacher. She decided for year 12 biology, we were just going to like self-teach ourselves. Like she gave us all the resources we needed, but it was up to us to teach ourselves. And at first I was like, this is so horrible. Why is she doing this to us? And then I realized how beneficial it actually was, because when it got to external time, when everyone else is going, oh, I need my teacher, I didn't need the teacher because I knew how to find resources by myself. I knew how to, sort of figure out like the validity of resources and all of those sorts of things. So it's really important that we start learning how to teach ourselves, because our teachers are amazing, but when they have more than 20 people in their classes, it's not all about you. Like you need to give other people a go. So then they're going to be spread pretty thin. So you can't rely too much on your teachers during this time. Another thing that is really funny, it's not like useful, but it is funny, is the QCEE Facebook groups. I really recommend joining it just because the funniest things happen on there, and it's really like a lighthearted way to feel about exams, like especially in that like 3-4 week exam period, it sucks so bad. And when you see people in the Facebook group trying to gaslight other people into thinking that was like an extra page on the exam, or thinking like talking about how badly they did and all of that, honestly, it does make you feel better. It gives you a bit of a giggle and it makes you feel better because you go, okay, well, at least I wasn't that dumb. I know that sounds bad, but it really does make you feel better like that. I do have something here called retrieval sheets, which is something that my maths teacher did, which was honestly like the most genius thing ever. Basically, just make sure that you, throughout the year, you're doing questions that you did maybe back in term 1 or back in term 2, just so occasionally you keep exposing yourself to those questions, because you don't want to get to the end. And this is sort of what Anki does. You don't want to get to the end and then go back to term 1 work to revise it and realize that you're actually not revising it, you're relearning it because you forgot it. We want to be revising, we don't want to be relearning. So please expose yourself periodically to questions from earlier on in the year. YouTube is always a great place to go. So I make videos, but there are also like a gazillion other YouTubers out there who make QCE videos. There are some really great resources out there. Just make sure you consider the credentials of the person first. Might just be something to consider, but there are so many different YouTubers out there that will be useful. Now, this is like really awfully specific. There's a game called Book It. It's sort of like Kahoot, but a bit better for memorizing things. And it's really specific to functional groups. So if you do chemistry and you're like struggling remembering like the functional groups or reaction pathways or whatever, do like a book it. Try and convince your teacher to do a book it on this, because my teacher did that with us and it was just like a silly thing at like the end of term. Like it was like the last day or something. It was meant to be a joke, but because Book It has you doing like the same questions like 30 times in a game, like after that day, I never had a problem with functional groups again. I can memorize them perfectly. I still know them now. It was just really like, it was like a half an hour game saved my life when it came to functional groups. Because at first I was like, this is too hard. Like there are too many to remember. No, get your teacher to do a book it on them. It saved my life. Another thing that is important for maths, and I think I'm going to make a video on it, I don't know, is learning how to use your graphics calculator, like that fancy calculator you get. It is so important to know the different functions of those, because it is a completely valid method of working out on your exams that will be accepted. And it is also an amazing way to check your answers and feel more confident within yourself. Please, please, please learn how to use your graphics calculator. Another incredibly important thing that I can't stress enough is focus on understanding rather than memorizing. I don't want you guys to... Okay, look, there will be some syllabus dot points that you're just not going to get. And you're going to need to cut your losses and memorize an answer to it. But what I want you to do instead is focus on understanding a topic rather than memorizing it. Because exams are stressful, and when you get into that exam and your mind goes blank, if you've just memorized something, it's not going to help you. But if you understand something, then you can start, writing little dot points, pulling apart the question, and you can build the answer like that. It is so much more important to understand something rather than just memorize something. Because when you memorize something, chances are you're going to miss some important points just because you forgot. Because you've tried to memorize a gazillion things. Some things you're going to have to memorize, like functional groups. Or maybe like that really hard syllabus dot point that you just can't get. But for the most part, I want you guys to be working on understanding content rather than memorizing it. Another super duper important thing is the teacher's guidance on the syllabus. So you can access the syllabus documents for all your subjects by just typing in biology syllabus and it will come up as a PDF. It is really important that you have a look at this guidance section over here. So here's an example. So say we go, okay, explain why the carrying capacity of a population is determined by limiting factors. So that means when you get a question about carrying capacity, you're going to have to talk about limiting factors. But what sort of limiting factors do we actually want to talk about? Because there are a gazillion things in the environment that can limit a population. But if you have a look in our little guidance section, it says here that limiting factors should include competition, predation, disease, space, availability of nutrients, pollution, natural disasters, and extreme climatic events like drought, cyclones, global temperature change. So what it's done is it said, okay, you need to explain limiting factors. And then you might be going, what limiting factors? Well, the guidance tells you exactly what limiting factors they want you to use. it is super, super duper important that you have a look at the guidance, because it will literally like save your life in so many different ways. The last thing that I do want to touch on just before I finish up today's video is on like the community section on my channel. I put up like a poll because I get so many people asking me, oh, can you make a video on this? Can you make a video on this? But like, I only have so much time. So what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you guys to vote in my poll. And I think I have like 5 different options of like the kinds of videos you want to see. So I want you to like pick the one you like the most and like vote in it. Or if there's like 2 you like, vote on your favorite and then put in the comments like your second favorite or something. Vote in that poll and it will give me a good idea of what people want to see. But yeah, that is what I think you guys should start considering for your external prep. Start off by figuring out what resources you want to use. The ones that I think are the most important are the QCE Discord server, Anki, and the Study Buddy and the QCE checkpoint. So those 4 are the most important things that I want you to use. If you don't like them, don't use them, but I really do think that they will be beneficial. And at the end of the day, your teachers are the experts. Well, most of the time they're the experts. I know mine were. Your teachers are the experts, so they should be, when you're trying to verify things, like if you can use them first, they're the ones who, you know, have probably done this a gazillion times. I really recommend using your teachers as a resource as much as you can without hogging it from other people. So always keep in mind that there are other people who want their help as well. I hope you found this video useful, and please vote in the poll. It's just on the community channel on my page to see what you guys want to see next. So yeah, thank you for watching, and leave in the comments if there's anything you want me to cover. Thank you.